good Arkansas needs to know. Now, back to First News with Toby Howell and Rebecca Davis on News Radio 1029 KARN.
And good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome back to First News here on the 29th of March. It's about 41 minutes after 8 o'clock, and we've got lots to cover coming out of Washington, D.C. And now joining us is our congressman from the 1st District here in Arkansas. As Representative Rick Crawford joins us. And Congressman, good morning. How are you this week?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. Appreciate you taking some time to jump on with us. And so, Congressman, it's been a pretty tragic week already with got the school shooting in Tennessee. Of course, right before that, the tornadoes in Mississippi that killed some 25 people in the state. I know the tornadoes have somewhat taken a back seat coverage-wise to the mass shootings, but what do you know of our neighboring state in terms of it? Is the government providing ample support to the people of Mississippi who lost homes and property during these storms last weekend?
I hope so, and I'm sure, and I have every confidence that the governor is going through the process there that under the Stafford Act that requires them to follow that protocol to get the federal resources in place. But I have every confidence that that's taking place and that, FEMA is on scene. And, I mean, that's just a horrific storm. We've dealt with those in our state and our district in the past. And so, certainly, my heart goes out to those folks in Mississippi and, prayers to those families for the loss of life. And it's a terrible situation.
Yeah, very tragic, and obviously keeping an eye on the recovery process at this point as we're talking with Representative Rick Crawford this morning. Getting into some of the other topics today, one of the big priorities this session for Congress for the GOP has been lowering energy costs, and I understand that you're presenting an amendment to the bill about the permitting process. Can you tell us what you're doing there?
Yeah, basically it's one federal decision, that is to streamline the permitting process, because as we've seen on highway projects, for example, we know that when you have a protracted permitting process, a lot of times that means it can significantly increase costs on the project, delay the project, and sometimes completely shutter the project. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're streamlining the progress on those projects. And what I'm addressing specifically in H.R. 1 has to do with the permitting for pipeline projects, because, from an environmental standpoint, pipelines are the most effective and environmentally friendly in terms of distributing fuel and other commodities. And so want to make sure that we're not creating more problems as we start to ramp up the movement of energy sources like fuel.
Yeah. Oh, well, and streamlining is always a good thing. It just makes things a lot more efficient. On another one, you and the Ag Committee heard from the Ag Secretary of Vilsack this week, who showed support for one of your bills in regards to how foreign countries interact with our agriculture industry. You and I have talked a little bit about this in the past. Can you explain that bill to us this morning and what it's going to do and what it's intended to do?
Well, I know that people have been paying close attention to Chinese entities attempting to buy U.S. farmland in particular, but other agriculture assets that are important to us. And so what we're trying to do is strengthen the CFIUS review. One of the components of that is to permanently place the Secretary of Agriculture on the CFIUS review board, which CFIUS means the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States. Mm-hmm. So they would have review of any of those potential foreign investments. And we thought it would be an important step to include the Ag Secretary as a permanent member of that CFIUS review board, and he agrees. And so this should be a slam dunk. We have the agreement of the Ag Secretary. He said as much in the hearing. And so we feel confident that we're going to be able to move this legislation without much resistance at all as a result.
And then that's a good thing. Congressman, is there China-owned land in Arkansas?
I'm sure there is. I know there were attempts made. My concern is it's not just that they're buying up land. It's, in many cases, it's the proximity to national strategic assets. And we saw this, for example, in North Dakota, where there was attempt to acquire land adjacent to a strategic Air Force asset. And, that wasn't by accident. They weren't just, look, there's some land for sale. No, they're looking to acquire that land as close as possible. For example, we have some strategic assets, say, for example, in Camden. Mm-hmm. We don't want to see foreign entities, and particularly Chinese entities, being able to acquire land in that close proximity. And quite frankly, I don't want to see them buy land anywhere, but I certainly don't want to see them given a real close view to, potentially to strategic assets that are important for our national security.
Well, I think you echo a lot of people's same thoughts when you say you don't want to see them buy land anywhere, which I think a lot of people echo that thought as we're talking with Representative Rick Crawford this morning out of the 1st District here in Arkansas. You're the chairman of the Subcommittee on Highways and Transit. You held a hearing this week about the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. What came from those meetings about the rollout and the use of the money in this bill?
Well, yeah, and that's the whole point of the hearing. It's not going like we had hoped. And, we talked about, permitting, streamlining. That came up in our hearing, as you can imagine. It was the first hearing of this particular subcommittee of this new Congress. And so we really want to exercise a high degree of oversight over that, as you mentioned, $1.2 trillion in spending. Make sure that money goes where it's supposed to go, that these programs are being implemented as the law intended. And we've seen on numerous cases where agencies are just kind of going rogue. I mean, they feel like they're given license to implement this at their own discretion, and it's in many cases violation of the law, the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. So we have to go in there and make sure they're not, getting out over their skis, if you will, in terms of the regulatory components that are, that can derail progress on highways and bridges and so on. So, look, we know that delays cost money. Interest rates are historically high, and we want to make sure that we're keeping our making highest and best use of taxpayer resources. And the way we do that is streamlining the process, reducing the regulatory burdens on these folks that build our highways and bridges. And so that's the whole point of this first hearing, was to get a sense of how that's being rolled out.
All right. Well, and obviously, we'll continue to watch that. Anything else that you're working on that you're excited about right now or looking forward to presenting?
Well, it's a farm bill year, and that's always important at home in Arkansas. And so we're excited about the prospect, but understanding that it is a huge task. It's a very heavy lift. And so, honestly, we have our work cut out for us. But we certainly want to deliver on that. It's not going to be easy. The good news is, we have, as a ranking member on the Senate side, Senator Bozeman, that is going to be helping us along the way. And so we expect to see this materialize, sometime probably before August. I would think that we will, mark up a bill and send it over to the Senate. And, what happens after that, anybody's guess. The Senate can, they don't always take our legislation. In fact, rarely do they take our legislation as we send it over there. So we know that we'll have to expect that it's going to come back looking differently, but there'll be a conference process. And the good news is, the House is chairing the conference in this particular farm bill, and we will lean on Senator Bozeman on the Senate side to help us out so that we feel like we're doing the best we can for not only the producers of Arkansas, but across the country.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to that. As that'll be rolling through, as you said, sometime this summer, most likely. But Congressman, always appreciate the time. Appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you have a good rest of the week.
Yes, sir. Same to you.
All right. There goes Representative Rick Crawford from the 1st District here in Arkansas. I always appreciate him stopping by. I get to talk to him, every 2-3 weeks. We're able to get him onto the radio show, so we appreciate his time this morning. It's 10 minutes in front of 9 o'clock. Let's check